Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the latest political stories shaping South Africa. Today's video dives deep into two stories that may seem unrelated at first glance, but when viewed together, they reveal critical truths about political power, race, leadership, and law enforcement in South Africa. So stay with us until the end because this one is loaded with insight and analysis you won't want to miss. We begin in Glen Hazel, Johannesburg, where something unusual but powerful took place. In a quiet suburban ward, Ward 72 to be specific, the economic freedom fighters made a bold move that caught the attention of political commentators across the country. Led by a white party member named Joshua Zimmerman, EFF activists took to the streets to spread their message of economic emancipation, radical reform, and, surprisingly, inclusivity. Now, if you know anything about the EFF, you'll understand why this image was so striking. Here's a party known for its fiery rhetoric, its demand for land expropriation without compensation, and its vocal rejection of post-apartheid economic inequality. And yet here stood Zimmerman, proudly clad in red, shoulder to shoulder with his black comrades, waving the EFF banner in a neighborhood not traditionally receptive to the party's agenda. The purpose of the gathering was more than symbolic. This was a targeted recruitment drive aimed at suburban South Africans, communities often accused of being disconnected from the daily struggles of the poor and working class. The EFF is clearly trying to shift the narrative, to show that its struggle is not a black struggle alone, but a national one, to demonstrate that white South Africans, too, can stand against economic injustice and the elite-driven status quo. Zimmerman's presence carried weight. In a country where political allegiance is still often divided along racial lines, a white EFF member leading a campaign in the suburbs disrupts stereotypes and forces people to rethink what the party stands for. It's an attempt to show that the EFF is more than Julius Malima's confrontational speeches in Parliament, it's a political movement evolving with the times. But here's the question, will it work? Winning the hearts of suburban voters won't be easy. These are areas that have historically leaned towards the DA or ANC, often wary of the EFF's militant style. And yet, by stepping into these spaces, the EFF is signaling a maturity, an understanding that if it wants to become a serious contender in national governance, it must break free from the image of being a party only for the disillusioned youth and rural poor. The challenge now lies in balancing that radical identity with broad-based appeal. Can the EFF be both revolutionary and relatable? Can it uphold its demands for systemic overhaul while reassuring middle-class voters that it won't plunge the economy into chaos? This suburban campaign wasn't just about optics, it was also filled with passionate chants of "Long live the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, long live." The kind of devotion on display shows that Malema remains the heartbeat of the party. His charisma is central to the EFF's identity. But devotion alone won't be enough to win over skeptics. What will matter is how the party communicates its policies, addresses local concerns, and demonstrates that its brand of socialism isn't just theoretical, but practical. Let's pivot now to another dramatic moment in recent South African history, one that shows the high-stakes tension between leadership, law enforcement, and constitutional democracy. We're rewinding to July 2021, when the Constitutional Court sentenced former President Jacob Zuma to 15 months in prison for contempt of court. What followed was an episode that almost brought South Africa to its knees. Violent riots, looting, and social unrest broke out across KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. But behind the scenes, then Police Minister Bheki Cele was caught in a storm of his own. Cele has now publicly revealed what happened during those final hours before Zuma's arrest, and his account is both chilling and revealing. Despite being ill with COVID-19, Cele says he had no choice but to report for duty. The Constitutional Court had made its ruling, and if Cele failed to ensure Zuma's arrest, he himself could have been held in contempt of court. Imagine that, a sitting police minister facing arrest for not arresting a former president. Cele described the moment as one of incredible national stress. As the deadline approached, midnight on July 7, 2021, tensions were boiling. Zuma's supporters had gathered outside his Nkandla home, vowing to protect him at all costs. South Africa watched with bated breath, uncertain whether the country was on the brink of a constitutional crisis, or worse, a civil conflict. Cele says quiet negotiations were happening behind the scenes to avoid bloodshed. It wasn't just about sending the police into Nkandla with force. It was about navigating a political minefield, where the wrong move could have sparked chaos. This wasn't just a legal dilemma, it was a question of whether the rule of law could prevail in a nation still haunted by its authoritarian past. Eventually, Zuma agreed to turn himself in, just minutes before the deadline. He was taken to the Escart Correctional Center. But the damage was already done. Days of looting and violence followed, leaving over 300 people dead and billions lost in economic destruction. Cele's recent remarks highlight how fragile South Africa's democracy can be when political power is pitted against the justice system. His chilling admission, "I would have gone to jail if I didn't ensure Zuma's arrest," reminds us that democracy doesn't run on autopilot. It requires individuals in positions of power to make tough, often dangerous choices to uphold the Constitution. So what do we learn from these two stories? In one, the EFF is trying to reshape its identity and challenge long-held assumptions about race and politics. In the other, a high-ranking official puts his health and freedom on the line to enforce a court ruling against a former president. Both stories reveal the complexity of South Africa's political landscape, where transformation is messy and leadership comes with real stakes. Whether it's a white EFF member campaigning in a leafy suburb or a minister risking arrest to uphold the law, these are the moments that define who we are as a country. They show us that change, real change, doesn't come easy. It requires courage, compromise, and a commitment to something bigger than individual ambition. Let us know what you think. Do you believe the EFF can win over suburban voters? Was Bheki Cele right to reveal these behind-the-scenes tensions now? And how do we as a nation move forward from such politically charged moments? Drop your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up if you found it insightful, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into South African politics. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you next time.